All right, hello everybody. This is Dread from Miss Valley Entertainment News. We're going to drop in and check out Master Cheesy's video. It'll be linked down below. The two biggest updates since Bethesda ruined modding again. Let's jump into this here. Right about here, I think. Let's go.
To talk about today is the fact that Bethesda will be updating very soon. There is speculation that it will be in the week of January 15th, but they recently dropped more information.
So it says Happy Tuesday, everybody. We're planning patching Skyrim on January 17th, 11 a.m. Eastern. Please note this patch will only apply to GOG, Epic Store, Bethesda Net, Xbox, and PlayStation. Steam version of the patch will have a slight delay and will be applied after. Our patch notes will be shared here as soon as they are finalized. Thanks for your patience. Well, that's a lie because my Steam version of Skyrim updated yesterday, which is the 17th of January at 11:18 a.m. my time. That's Pacific time. So, yeah, a slight delay will be applied after. Well, I guess it was technically 3 hours afterwards. But did I mention that if you don't know, my Steam version was and has been for years set to do not update unless I launch through Steam, and I never launched through Steam. Yet it updated. When I went and looked at the settings, it had been changed from that to always update. I didn't change it. I have never been in there to change that, period. Didn't update in December. And yet this month, the settings in Steam for it changed and it allowed it to update. So check yours because I want to know down below if any of you had your game update, because I did not set mine to update. Mine was not set to update, but it did update and the setting changed. I find that very crooked. Very, very crooked. And I want to know if anybody else has had the same thing happen because I did not change my settings.
Implying that it will actually be releasing on the 17th. And while I'm recording this is today, but my video won't be out until tomorrow, unfortunately. But one thing to note, this is for every version of Skyrim besides the Steam version of Skyrim, so that's a plus. But what isn't a plus is the fact that the Steam update will be coming soon, or
yeah, in this case, 3 hours later. I also want to point out they don't actually give you any notice, Steam users. You don't get to see your Steam update for Skyrim in a queue for a week like a lot of games do. It just happens. And they only give you a vague, well, it'll happen sometime after this update. But we don't know when yet, but it's actually scheduled for 3 hours later. Do you think Bethesda wants your Skyrim to update very, very, very badly to break your mods? Yes. Yes, they do. To the point where they won't actually tell you any useful information, so hopefully you can't stop it. Do I think they're working with Steam to perhaps change settings? I have to believe they are, because otherwise, how did my Steam settings get changed without me changing them?
is just currently delayed, so I guess that's kind of good and bad. So now you can actually have time to turn your updates off. A quick way to turn updates off for users is to go to your Steam library and then Steam apps, which should be located in your C drive, or whatever drive you have it named as. And if you didn't follow 90% of the modding guides, it'll be in your program files, which isn't a good thing, but otherwise you're okay. But all you have to do is right click on app manifest, which is 489, and set it to read only. Then no more updates will happen automatically without your permission. But that's just a way to avoid the update, but this update actually does provide some useful fixes to your game that some people were complaining about. So it's kind of a give and take with this update. In an effort to avoid being called a shield, I won't say this update is worth it, but if some of the issues fixed is what's been plaguing you, then I recommend upgrading and giving it a try. But honestly, most of the fixes look like they were meant for the creation menu and not for the actual game of Skyrim itself, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. Like for
well, you mean their updates to Skyrim don't actually affect Skyrim? Well, of course not. They didn't update Skyrim to begin with. Why would they update it now, 13 years later? Of course they're not going to do any fixes on Skyrim. But they've linked their game, okay? They've linked Skyrim to it. They're going to link Starfield to it. They're eventually going to link some of their other games to this as well, all to this creation stuff, so that every time there's an update to creation, which they've already said that update will include when they basically upload new creations to it, which they say will happen about every month. That means the plan is every month when they update the creation stuff, which they do by adding more stuff to it, more mods to it, or fixing something in it or whatever, it affects all the games connected to it. It changes the version number of all the games, even though they're not actually doing anything on your game itself. It's mod breaking. It's just plain old mod breaking 101 by Bethesda.
In the report, it seems they fixed most of the reasons the creation menu crashes, and such as will actually be a simple reason as you trying to actually download something from the creations menu, and it will just simply crash. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose of even having it, so I guess they're fixing some of that. But what's new to me is they provided specific fixes to some but not the others. Like the PlayStation version would instantly crash the moment you reach the creation screen, and if you try to delete all your creations so you can go back to vanilla to avoid that issue, it just wouldn't work, so you were stuck crashing. So this,
if you're like me, you're probably like, Dread, none of this affects me because I don't have these things. I don't have creations. Yeah, it doesn't affect me either, but we're gonna let this play out and see if there's anything of interest. And some of you here will have the creations. Some of you are involved with this, so this is news that you might find interesting.
It crashed the moment you reach the creation screen, and if you try to delete all your creations so you can go back to vanilla to avoid that issue, it just wouldn't work, so you were stuck crashing. So it appears they tried to fix that, but that's kind of a big maybe. And I say a big maybe because this actually just came out a few hours ago, so it's no telling how many issues are going to be reported within no day or two. Xbox user had a slight issue with the creation menu just getting kicked and sent back to the main menu, and then annoying pop-ups when you try and load into your game. Nothing too serious like PlayStation users. Not even being able to launch their game is what they had to go through. But I mean, that's kind of really expected since Skyrim was never really that advanced on PlayStation compared to Xbox at least, so maybe Bethesda thought that they didn't need as much help. If I'm being honest, it seems like this update was just an update to stop people from having a good reason to not spend money on their creation screen. Now since you can get to it without crashing, you can spend money on it. It's a win-win for them. And as I was reading the bug fixes, I wish I could say that this update was needed or it could cover for Bethesda, but this update was not needed at all. All it's going to do is make modding harder for other people, but I guess that's just what we have to deal with for now.
Forever.
But I do think this might be the last update for a while though, because honestly, there is really nothing else that they should be updating for. But then again, that's what I thought about Anniversary Edition before.
You'll get one in another month. You got one in December, you got one in January, you'll get one in February too. Etc, etc, etc.
All the updates came, so who knows? But what's fun to read is the Reddit page of the update. The amount of people actually very upset is kind of fun to read, but I do feel their pain, at least a little bit on the side. But I did happen to turn my Skyrim auto updating off before this happened, and thankfully I did because the down patcher hasn't been updated yet.
Yeah, mine has been turned off, but my Skyrim's still updated.
At least not at the time of me recording, but it'll probably be updated by the time of tomorrow. But one of the things I wanted to mention is great news that might come in handy for some people, not for all people, but definitely some, is that someone from the modding guild has managed to actually get FSR3 working on Skyrim. And it actually made their game look amazing. It made it look as if they gained nearly 60 FPS on top of their already great looking list. But I do want to mention this is only an appearance. It isn't going to actually give them FPS, it's kind of an illusion. So for those people who can barely play above 20 FPS, you're still pretty much out of luck here. But I mean, as long as you're having fun. But there's a guide for those who actually want to give it a try because it definitely made them look like they were playing on high FPS. The guy pretty much goes deep into detail explaining how to actually get FSR3 onto your game. But in several terms, it's like hammering a nail. But it works. But I do have to point out once again that these are not actual FPS increases. So if you see 60 or 40, it will not go up to 80. It's just that it makes your game look a little more smooth, so it feels as though your FPS is higher. And I feel like I had to say that just because I know some people, even though I said it previously in this video, they will comment down below that I lied to them. Also, just so I can kind of avoid any issues, comment down below what version of Skyrim you're on. I will also be making a poll because I kind of want to know what version of Skyrim my viewers use, and also if they're on console or PC. Because that'll help me narrow down who's getting affected.
Original videos linked down below. Master Cheesy is not one of my favorite YouTubers to watch, but
then another update happens, but they might stop eventually and just let modders fix it like usual. But I at least have to give Bethesda some credit on their persistence to try and make a better game, and maybe they're trying to cash grab.
Yeah, it's BS.
but I won't be the
Bethesda
judge
ain't
on
interested
that.
in a better game. They're
So we got
interested in your
some bad
money.
news and
That's
some
it.
great news today. But the sad news is that the fact that the bad news came from actual developers of the game, while the good news came from a simple modder from the modding community. And maybe I helped save a few people telling you how to actually prevent your game from updating. But honestly, you probably already knew that. And if you're already on 1.5.97, which is special edition, this update wasn't completely useless. I'm sure this will help a few people, but I'm pretty sure the majority of people would have preferred Bethesda to just leave the game alone at this point, considering it is over 12 years old. And also mentioning the point that it's a single player offline game, not an online game. It's starting to feel like they're updating Skyrim more than they're updating Fallout 76. Because at this point, people aren't even worried about a mod not working for their list or having to downgrade. People are more worried about Bethesda updating their game, and that's really not a good impression to have on your fan base. I kind of miss when the marketplace was just a myth. The fans. Hopefully Bethesda will put this much effort into Hammerfell, because if that game comes out looking like Elder Scrolls Online, I'm going to lose a lot of hope in Bethesda. I won't say all the hope, but a lot. And right now, even though Bethesda is still doing all this, I still love them for producing my favorite game. And yes, Skyrim at this point is my favorite game of all time, with Cyberpunk being the second one for the story. Skyrim for us is like what Sims is for other people. So imagine building your perfect world, spending months finding the perfect match, just for an update to come and take all that progress away. Or maybe not just taking all that progress away, but just delaying it tremendously, so as soon as you think you're done, something happens and now you can't even play. And that's pretty much, in the lack of better words, why so many people get angry at Bethesda for all their constant updates, especially considering we just got 2 in the last few months, where generally it takes a while for them to update twice. And it's already tedious enough making a mod list and bug testing it. But now mod authors got the extra stress of making patches for newer versions of the game, also making them work for older versions of the game, so making them work together is a little complicated.
Yeah, we're gonna leave it here. I have had enough of Master Cheesy. Again, not my favorite YouTuber. It's not like I hate them or anything. They're not my favorite YouTuber to listen to. But anyways, good stuff there, Master Cheesy. Thanks for letting me react to your video. And everybody, drop down in the comments. Let me know what you think about Skyrim's newest update, and whether you agree with me that they are going to be having Skyrim update with the creation engine, the creation club stuff every month. Is that not the plan? That ruins modders' lives who use free mods. That's the whole intention. Driving them to paid mods, or at least getting rid of the free mod people, so you don't encourage more people to go to free mods. You encourage them to use the paid ones. From Miss Valley Entertainment News, my name is Dread. Try to stay positive out there, people. Try to stay positive. Good night.